Slaughtered in northern cities in the space of 4, 5, 6 months. And then, of course, the great Ojukwu said, everybody come back home. They went back home, and as they were going on every train stop, they were slaughtered. Those people were killing them. That is your history. That is the truth. And nobody should deny you the right to remember that. Both those that suffered it and those of us that inflicted it. And what happened? Train station to train station until they got home. And they drew the line, and then from here is Biafra, no more slaughter, and the war started. Now, I won't go too much into the issues of the war, because there were two sides, and people have, let me put it like this, varying views of history. But I will tell you this much: no matter what the history is, no matter what the situation is, and I'm glad that our Chinese friends are here, because they will have, if they can understand what I'm saying, and I'm sure they can, they have a lot to learn from this too. That 3 million innocent civilians, not one, not two, 3 million, including 1 million children, were slaughtered in that civil war, all from the east, slaughtered by us, the federal forces and the Godogodo forces from the north, that went into towns after the federal forces left and raped women and slaughtered people. 3 million. And we starved 3 million Igbo children to death, 1 million Igbo children to death. And we attempted to justify it. Let me tell you this: there is no greater act of genocide on the African continent. This is the greatest black on black act of genocide on the African continent in the history of Africa. It is absolutely terrible. I really don't know why anybody should talk about that. That is absolutely reprehensible, and we have not apologized for it. We have not reconciled. We have not sought to appease God for what we did, and we really believe things will go well with our nation. It cannot. And that's where it starts. And what happened after that? After the Civil War, we said no victor, no vanquished. But what did you do? You gave them £20, that's all. You took all their property everywhere in the country except in the southwest. I have to say this because it's true. We must be bound by facts. Most parts of the southwest did not do that, but everywhere else in the country, if you're Igbo, you had a house, they took your property in the name of abandoned property, and they refused to give it back to you. But what did this do? This did not stop the great Igbo people, and that's when I knew that they are very different. Really, I'm not saying that because I'm here, but there's something different. We've had our differences before. We've had issues, we've had intellectual debates, all sorts between ourselves. But when it comes to fundamental issues, these are extraordinary people. What happened? They came back into Nigeria, still believing in an integrated Nigeria, still saying that we should all stay together as one. They moved back to the north, they moved to the west, they moved to the Niger Delta, they moved everywhere. They excelled, they prospered, they built up their businesses, they built new homes. Today, most house properties in Abuja are owned by Igbo. They came back, and they were fully integrated. And some of the greatest sons of the East have excelled in governance, in business, over the last, how many years, 20, 30 years, have done so well. You wouldn't know what they had been subjected to as a people. And we, as Nigerians, conveniently took advantage of that and said, well, since they don't feel it, we shouldn't talk about it. We should just move on. Stop teaching history in the schools because they didn't want you to know the truth. Move on, and we actually never happen. Let me tell you the challenge with that. They say if you do not learn from the lessons of history, it tends to repeat itself. And what are we seeing today? What are we seeing today? And I'm coming to the issue of migration very briefly, shortly, sir. So please, forgive me. Forgive me. What are we seeing today? I mean, it's unbelievable, really. It really is extraordinary. And I'm not speaking here as a politician. I'm speaking as somebody that considers himself a moderate historian, and also somebody that is a human being. I mean, I have a level of humanity in me. And I cannot sit by and see what's happening in this country today and say, well, it's okay, maybe tomorrow, in the name of one Nigeria, we should just accept it and say nothing and take it. Now, the problem is that most people think that way. And therefore, the situation has gone from bad to worse. There is nothing that is happening today that I did not say would happen before the election in 2015. We were deeply involved in the joint campaign, and I told them, if the president is elected into power, A, B, C, D, E would happen within a space of time. It would get from bad to worse. It will come back in 2019, and it will continue. You see, what we're dealing with is not just politics or political parties. We are dealing with an ancient agenda. And that agenda is being forcefully established, forcefully implemented by various individuals who understand what the game is all about. They know what they're doing. We are the ones that don't know what they're doing to us. But let's look at the facts. Today in Nigeria, and I wonder how Zeke would have felt. Today in Nigeria, just as they killed people, they killed Igbos, they killed non-Igbos before the Civil War, how many of your youth in the southwest, in the southeast, have been killed? IPOB youths have been killed over the last 3-4 years. Are they not human beings? Are they not human beings? Morning, day, and night. I will not forget. You should not forget. Nobody should forget. As long as you do not carry arms, as long as you do not threaten the state, as long as you do not inflict violence or preach violence, I do not see why it is that you cannot express yourself or express your right of self or express your desire for a referendum for self-determination. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Now, it didn't stop there. Not just IPOB youths. You go to the southwest today, in the name of migration, conquest by migration, I call it, and I'll come to that in a minute. Our forests are flooded with Fulani herdsmen, both from Nigeria and outside Nigeria. Now that's a great one for migration for you. They're there. You go to the Middle Belt, communities are slaughtered, morning, day, and night. Priests are killed, churches are burned. Middle Belt people are roasted alive, their wives raped, their children hacked to pieces in front of them. Then they burn the community, burn their homes, then they now take it over. After they've taken it over, they give them new names. Do you know that's what's happening? You don't believe me? Ask them in Plateau State. Ask them in Benue. Ask them in Taraba. Ask them in Adamawa. Ask them everywhere through the Middle. I live in the north. And I've lived there since 2003. And I've visited these places. Southern Kaduna. Southern Kaduna particularly is a name of Ruga, in the name of this expansion of Islamic faith, in the name of trying to Islamize, in the name of just capturing land, in the name of forced integration. Because you manage to get away, what you become brazen. You become totally brazen. And you say, I can do anything and get away with it. And what happened in the last couple of years, particularly since this president came back? Let me tell you what happened. For the first time in our history, we have a situation whereby the executive, let's talk about the executive first. President, Hausa Fulani Muslim. Every single security agency in our country, we have 17, all of them, headed by northern Muslims, except for one, which is the Navy. And I'm talking about everything. Everything you can imagine. I've done the list, it's out there. It's never happened before in history. I don't think Zeke would be too happy with that. Why? This is a multicultural, multi-religious, multi-racial country. I work with Obasanjo. If you come and suggest such a thing to him, and you say we should put Yoruba people, he will throw you out so fast. But this president doesn't see anything wrong with that. Every single security agency is headed by a northern Muslim, except for the Navy. Now, let's look at the ministries. Let's look at the presidency itself. 90% of the people that work at the presidency today, 90% are all northern Muslims. And the lingua franca there is Hausa. I worked there. In those days, it was a mix. Under Jonathan, it was a mix. Under Yaradua, it was a mix. In our history, it's always been a mix. But now it's very different. You need to speak Hausa to get through the corridors. I don't think Zeke would have been too happy with that. A situation whereby they came back in 2019, and all the Northwest, where the president comes from, has no less than 10 substantive ministers. 10. That is senior ministers, for want of a better word. Substantive ministers, we call them. They have 10 from the Northwestern zone alone. And you go elsewhere, Southwest, where I come from, they have 5. Elsewhere, Southeast, South, North Central, and Northeast, guess how many they have? They have 3 each. Just 3. which means that the Northwest has 3 times the number of substantive ministers than anywhere else in the country except for the Southwest, who they have 50% more. Is that right? I don't think Zeke would have been too happy with that. Everything under the executive, everything. The only thing they left was the governor of Central Bank because he chose to do their bidding. Everything else is in the hands of these people. I don't think Zeke would have been too happy with that. That's the executive. If it had been the executive alone, we could say, okay, we have constitutional protections. Let's look at the legislature. Let's look at the legislature before going to the judiciary. In the legislature today, we have a northern Muslim heading the Senate. Then in the House of Reps, a good friend of mine from the Southwest, Femi Fani-Kayode, I've known him for 40 years. He is from the Southwest, but he's a Muslim. Suddenly became a Muslim. He's a Muslim, okay? And you know what they did? They put 4 people around him, good friend of mine, and I'm not saying anything to disparage him here. I have immense affection and respect, as I do for all these people I mentioned. It's just that we disagree. I'm entitled to disagree with what they're doing. Now, what they've done is every principal, the 4 principal officers in the House of Reps are all northern Muslims. So they have put a ring around him just in case he decides to misbehave. Let's look at the judiciary. The Supreme Court, headed by a northern Muslim. The Courts of Appeal, headed by a northern Muslim. The Federal High Court, headed by a northern Muslim up until about 3-4 months ago. Now you have a northern Christian there, and he appears to be doing quite well. And, you know, he managed to keep his job. Let's hope he keeps his job. But that's the equation. Nothing for the South there. Everywhere you go, everything they say, they tell you pointedly that, listen, we're prepared to deal and have dealings with the Southwest. We can do that because part of the Southwest supports us. But we will never trust anybody from outside that place. That is the mantra. I've seen it, I won't go into details, I won't mention names. And this has been said to me point blank to my face, that we will never forget what they did on the night of January 15th, 1966, when they slaughtered our leaders in the middle of the night. And I put it to them that it wasn't just your leaders that were killed. Our leaders were also killed from the Southwest, from the South-South. Every other part, people were killed. Even an Igbo army officer by the name of Lieutenant Colonel Unebe was also killed. I said, so where does all this stop? But they say they will never forget. Well, that's okay. But I don't think Zeke would have been too proud of that. I don't think that was his legacy. I don't think that was the legacy of Awolowo or the legacy of the founding fathers. I know it was the legacy of Saddam of Sokoto because he said it about dealing the Quran in the Sahadadino. I know it was the legacy of Usman Danfodio when he said spread the Quran with a sword, spread the Islamic faith with the sword of the Quran. I know it was the policy of a man that I honestly believe was a great nationalist until I read some of the things he said before he became Prime Minister, Tafawa Balewa, when he said that they don't believe in the unity of this country. I know it was the legacy of Saudana when he said that the northern minorities must never be allowed must always be made slaves, and the southerners must never be allowed to have power. This is what they said. And now it's being implemented before our very eyes. Now, ordinarily, because it's very romantic for us to say integration is a beautiful thing. And it is. My wife comes from the Southeast, I'm from the Southwest. I do not discriminate on gender or on race. I think it's an intellectually defective thing for anybody to be a racist. I'm not a racist. I may have differences with certain people, but I cannot be a racist. I'm just too well brought up. But what I'm against is oppression in any shape or form. Now, it gets worse. Look at the issue of migration, and let's come to it now. The president spoke in his speech about external migration and people leaving Africa and so on and so forth. Now, whatever the numbers are, it is tragic that in our country, Nigeria, because of the number of people that have been running out of this country to look for greener pastures elsewhere, particularly in Europe, the highest number of prostitutes, according to a European survey, I'm not saying it, they said it, the highest number of prostitutes in Europe, continental Europe today, are Nigerian women. It's a tragedy.